They've changed the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! And people are freaking out.
It's time to duel!
What's up guys, welcome back to CardSpot. My name is Ethan and Konami has announced new rules for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The game that we all love. And people are, as always when Konami changes anything, freaking out. So let's have a look at what actually has changed. So what has changed? The first thing that has changed is the time limit. So this is from Konami's blog. I'm just going to use this because it has a rundown of the changes. I'm not going to bother looking at all of the tournament rules and faff. So basically, what changed? So Swiss rounds have been extended to 50 minutes from 45 for tier 1, 2, and 3 events, which are locals, regionals, YCS basically, and like WCQs. Round times may be adjusted for tier 4 events, which is the World Championship. So what does this mean? You have an additional 5 minutes. So actually don't hate this change given the other changes that they've made. So this is basically an extra 5 minutes, which in the state of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Combos are taking longer and longer to do, so it kind of makes sense that we need a little bit more time to do them in. I wouldn't be so keen on this change if they didn't make the other change that we'll get to in a second. So the next thing is the number of rounds have changed. So there is a new subsection to accommodate the difference in the number of rounds required for specific tournament tiers. Basically what this boils down to is they are increasing the number of Swiss rounds that are recommended for X number of players, but reducing the number of playoff cut rounds. So basically, if it was top 16, top 32, top 64 before, now it's just going to be top 8. Everything is just going to be top 8. And they're going to use those extra number of rounds to whittle down, you know, the number of X2s and X3s that you would have at the end of an event and just play top 8 from there. I would imagine prizing will still work out to be, you know, top 64 mats or whatever at a WCQ, or like, I don't know, top 32 for packs at a YCS or whatever. Those will remain the same, but it's just the playoff will just be for top 8, not further down the card, which kind of makes sense, right? Like, you want the best of the best. You don't want someone who just sneaks in with a really bad record and makes their whole way to the top. I don't know. This one's kind of it's a non-starter for me. It's like, sure, whatever. Like, it's not going to matter for the majority of players anyway, myself included, so yeah, so here we go. So maximum top cut for any number of tournament participants is 8. So regardless of how many duelists enter a tier 1 or 2 tournament, top cut will always be 8. Then number of rounds for tier 3 and 4 events. So this is just discussing exactly what we were just talking about, so adding some extra rounds. Regardless of how many duelists enter a tier 3 or tier 4, it'll always cap at top 8. Playoff rounds will not have a set time limit, so that is something. So there won't be a time limit for top 8, which is good. That's actually a really good improvement, so I'm happy about that. You don't want to see a Worlds event or the finals of a YCS or something like that determined by time rules, or not even the finals. I think maybe the finals they didn't time anyway, but like, you know, the quarterfinals or something. Make the whole top 8, just play it and see if you can win. Alright, next up, end of match procedure. So we have an entirely new end of match procedure. Swish rounds and single elimination will use the same end of match procedure. If a match does not end with a winner, both duelists will receive a loss for the round. So that means there are no more draws in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It means that if there is not one duelist who has won 2 matches at the end of that round, or 2 games of that match at the end of that round, both players involved in that match will lose. So there is no more like trying to stall out your opponent, to go to game 3 to quickly like get a cheesy win with a burn card. That doesn't exist anymore, because if you stall out your opponent and you go to time and no one has won a match, that's it. See you later. So yeah, you have to win 2 games when time is called. So if you're in the middle of a match, I guess this is probably a better analogy. If you're in the middle of a game, you've won 1 game, your opponent's won 1 game, and you're in the middle of game 3, and time is called, regardless of what life points are at, which is where burning your opponent for time comes in. Regardless of what life points are at, it's a loss for both players. So this encourages players who want to win. That's very important. Players who want to win need to play fast, which is a very good incentive and a good encouragement to learn your deck before you go to a tournament, and make sure that you know your combos and all of that kind of stuff, because you need to be playing fast. Because if you want the best shot at winning, you don't want to leave that in the hands of your opponent. What that does mean is you can potentially drag people down. You could stall it out so much that, you know, if you win game 1, you stall out game 2 and 3 so much that they just get a loss. Assuming you're not trying to win, like, that's the thing. I don't think that will be a very common scenario, because generally people are playing to win, right? I guess if there's a particular duelist that you really hate, you might try and drag them down with you. That's possible. But this is quite a big change, and now coincides with the 50-minute time limit. So we have a little bit longer, but at the end, if no one has won 2 matches, you both lose. I keep saying matches, I mean games. If no one has won 2 games, you both lose the match. So play faster, play fairer, question mark. I think this is really good because it basically means you can't burn for time anymore. Unless you're burning your opponent to death, you can't cowboy for game. Because if you're in game 3, the life points don't matter until they're at 0. And if you hit 0 before time is called, sweet, you've got a clear winner. If they don't hit 0 when time is called, doesn't matter, you both lose. So it's going to be interesting to see what this does for the ban list now. Because cards like Fiendsmith's Lacrima can come off the list, right? Like pretty much the whole reason that card was banned was because of its burn effect. That doesn't matter anymore. That's the only one that pops into my mind off the top of my head, but I'd have to have a look at the ban list and see. I'm sure there's other cards on there that have burn effects that were banned because of this. So this is quite big, and I'm honestly, when I initially heard it, I didn't like it, and I think there's always in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, there's always a big pushback when it comes to any kind of considerable change to game mechanics. We saw this with the Time Wizard changes that they proposed a little while back, and this was on the cards for a little while, right? Because they did this for I think Worlds, right? I actually think this is good change overall, because it really encourages people to finish their match in a timely manner. And 50 minutes is a decent amount of time to do so. Like, when you consider that's 15 minutes for each game, if assuming you play 3 games, and about 2.5 minutes for in between for siding. So realistically, that should be doable. And look, if you can't finish in that time, you're both getting losses. So yeah, it's kind of funny. It is kind of funny that there's a double loss. Everyone loses, we go home. But I actually do think that with the state of current Yu-Gi-Oh, with how long combos take, but how fast-paced the games are, I think this is quite needed to encourage people to play faster and not just sit and try and think, oh, I've got this Ash Blossom, I'm gonna thinking every time my opponent makes a play, they're actually going to have to play a bit faster. So I like this. I actually think it's good. And of course, if you are playing at a reasonable pace of play and your opponent is not, call a judge. Be like, hey, look, judge, I'm trying to get through this match, but my opponent is not helping me here. Have them on record, because, you know, at the end of the day, you're not trying to be a dick. You're just trying to get through your match. You're trying to not actively get a loss. So I think this is a really good change. And I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. I think, as always with these kind of changes, there'll be a little bit of teething problems and things like that. But I have a regional tomorrow, and these changes, I believe, are in effect for that. So I'm interested to see how that's going to all pan out. So we will see. Not that, I mean, I'm washed. I'm not planning on topping or anything like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how it does affect the people that are looking to top, how fast people are playing, etc. So those are the main changes. So to reiterate, we now have a 50-minute time limit for rounds. Rounds aren't timed once you get to top 8. And if neither player has won 2 games at the end of a match, both players get a match loss. And it's only top 8 from here on out. For playoffs anyway. There'll be prizing for others, but in terms of the playoffs, it's only top 8. So those are the main changes. I would be very keen to hear what you guys think about them. What Konami has done to our beautiful game. Let me know down in the comments, because very keen to get other opinions about this. But overall, I think I don't really care about the top 8 changes, but I think the time changes are good. So let me know if you agree with me or not, and I will see you in the next video. A massive shout out to Riv, our first channel member. It's crazy to me that I have channel members now. If you want to be like Riv and support the channel in the most incredible way, check out that join button down below. Otherwise, just keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll see you in the next video.